You've made a lot of videos that pertain to injuries, common injuries that we get when we're working out and training. What are the most common but avoidable injuries, and how do I avoid them? Because I care a lot about this now that I'm getting older. In
Yeah.
fact, as we sit here, as I said to you, I've pulled some like ligaments in my ankle, and I was at the physio yesterday, and I've been on crutches, and I've got this big boot I have to wear. And it's not until you get injured that
Mm.
you realize how imperative it was for you to avoid this,
Yeah.
because it puts you, for me, it's completely changes my whole, it changes my whole life. Not only can't I like just move through a space normally, but then I can't train. I'm going to get weaker. It's going to have an impact on my metabolic health. It's going to therefore have an impact potentially on my sleep, my cognition and everything downstream. So I go, okay, I should actually have an injury prevention program. So what are the most commonly occurring injuries, and what advice would you give me to avoid them?
Let's see. So first of all, I take personal offense to you calling yourself old at 32.
Well, I'm getting older.
I don't know what that makes
It's
me,
just
but
so
I feel like the crypt keeper.
But you just start to like.
You do though.
When I was a kid playing soccer, I could
care.
play for 3-4 hours. I didn't stretch, and I was fine. These days, I have 100% injury rate if I don't stretch, and if I don't warm up, and if I don't really think about it. 100% injury rate. I'm like,
Interesting.
I'm on my way downhill. You know.
Well, I mean, you're certainly going in the wrong direction, but I think when it comes to injury, preparation does go a long way towards helping someone to avoid it. It's not completely avoidable. I actually tore my bicep in this arm, but when it comes to the more common ones, I think you can look to the joints that are either built to be mobile, that aren't being controlled, or built to be stable, that are being asked to do too many things. So what is that? If you look at your shoulder, right? It's a ball. And again, we can look at that. It's a ball and socket, right? It's got the ball inside the socket. It's supposed to be able to move in all kinds of directions. We can move it all everywhere. If you look at the leg, right? We don't have the other part of the hip, but we have the ball from the ball and socket. It's meant to be able to go in all directions. When those joints, the shoulder and the hip, are uncontrolled, meaning you're lacking strength in the muscles that control the movement of that joint, that's when you actually wind up having issues. So what are the muscles that control that? Well, we talked about one of those smaller exercises before, the glute medius. That muscle controls motion of the hip in that frontal plane. So not just in this front to back squat, lunge, deadlift direction, but this frontal side to side plane. It controls the movements of the hips this way. If you don't train them, they're not going to magically get strong. Like they have a function, and if you're not challenging that function, then you're not strengthening that muscle.
It seems like a lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot, but I mean, you could acquire the strength you need there with one exercise. You know, the function is hip abduction, so you could do some of the side-lying hip lifting or leg lifting. You could do something more challenging where you perform a lunge, but interestingly, all you have to do is weight it on one side. So if I were to say, all right, Stephen, what do you normally do? What do you normally do for lunges? How much weight do you hold in your hands when you do a regular lunge? Or do you not do lunges?
I don't do many lunges.
You gotta do lunges. So let's say you're doing or Bulgarian split squat, another one of my favorite exercises where you put one leg back on the bench. I would say hold the weight in one hand. So now if you're doing a lunge and I put a 50 or 60 pound dumbbell in your hand on one side, and then you go and you lunge out, that weight, you're in the split position now with one leg out in front. The weight on this side totally wants to pull you in that direction. You have to pull back on this side through the muscles on the outside of the opposite hip to keep you in this position. And I could say, I'm going to make this even harder. Go slow, go really slow. So now you're stepping out, you're on one leg as you're stepping. So now you're on one leg and you're being pulled here. Now you land, the leg drops down, or the dumbbell wants to drop you down. You stay up there. I make you hold it for even a second or two in the bottom position because your body is just aching to want to move in that direction. I've just trained your hip abduction strength in this frontal plane on an exercise that's truly a sagittal plane exercise front to back. So I have ways that I can actually trick you into getting these things accomplished at the same time you're training something else. So it's not always an extra thing that you have to do. You can actually do this in a way that, is sort of part of what you do.
So what do you do then? If I was saying to you, I want to have a comprehensive workout and you're designing my 7-day workout plan, what would you give me to do?
One of the best ways to train is with an upper lower split, or with push-pull leg split. And again, if you were to do a push-pull legs, I would then have to have you include your shoulders along with your chest and triceps there, right? Because it's your only shot in that week to do your shoulder work. And again, as a pushing muscle, it would go on the same day.
So Monday, what do I do
So
Monday?
you could do push there, right? But my one caveat to a push-pull legs is that it tends to be a lot, right? Like you're doing shoulders, chest, triceps. Some people don't like that amount of volume, right?
What's push? When you say push,
So-
so someone that doesn't know.
Yeah, so push is just the muscles who share a similar function of pushing. So if you look at a bench press, it's pushing the weight away from you is the concentric action that you're doing. If I looked at a lat pull down, I'm pulling the weight towards me. That's the concentric part of it. If I'm doing a bicep curl, I'm pulling it towards me. Triceps, shoulders, chest, everything is pushing. I'm pushing away this way, pushing away that way. Push up, I'm pushing away from the ground. Tricep push downs, it's in the name itself. I'm pushing down through a tricep push down. I'm doing tricep, lying extensions. I'm pushing the weight away. They would all go on a similar day. Again, I like the function of that because it's optimal recovery. So why that's good if you could tolerate, and I'm asking, if that's okay for you to do that because you're not naturally adding shoulders in. If you were okay with adding shoulders in, then you would do your push workout. And then what I would do is know that I'm getting enough recovery in between workouts because I could give you a day off in terms of weight training on Tuesday, come back and do Wednesday legs, right?
So Monday, I'm just doing push upper
Just
body.
push. Yeah, just push upper body.
Okay,
Yep.
Tuesday, you're going to give me the day off.
Tuesday, you get the day off.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to give you two variations of this.
Okay.
And when I say day off, we if you were with me, you'd be doing conditioning. All right, so we'll get into that. But
Doesn't sound
it
like
would
a
be
day off.
yeah, it's not a day off. No, you give me 7 days, I'll take up all 7, even if I'm just doing ab work on some. But you then on Wednesday would come back and do your leg workout.
And what leg workout am I doing on Wednesday?
So it's gonna be front, anterior, posterior. So I'm gonna train your hamstrings, your glutes, and your quads. Everything will get done together. Thursday you'd have another day off.
Okay.
Again, likely not a day off. Some conditioning, and then the Friday could be your pull workout. Now, what's nice about that is if you are somebody that doesn't recover as well as others, and this is not everybody, but that gives you a really good amount of recovery between those workouts. If you could tolerate more than that, the first step I would do is add a total body workout one more time. So I could come back on Saturday and add a total body workout. It would just be a little bit light on the pull because you just did that, right? You did the day before.
So my whole body on Saturday.
You could do it, when I mean I would pick very big compound movements that are representative of including as many muscles as possible at one time.
Okay.
And I could back off a little bit off of the pull that you were doing because I realized that you just did certain exercises the day before. So if I trained you on, and this gets a little nuanced, but if I trained you on Friday and a pull workout, remember I have different planes of motion I can move in. So if you were doing vertical pulling stuff like a pull up or a pull down, I could stress more horizontal pulling exercises like a seated row or a bent over row, right? So I could shift the focus a little bit.
And then Sunday I break.
Yeah, I definitely don't advocate 7 days a week of full training.
Where would I be doing my cardiovascular work in this particular week?
So in that scenario, I'd have you do your conditioning work on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Thought I had a break.
And if you had, your goals were more aligned with fat loss and overall conditioning, and you feel like you're, not as healthy as you could be there, I would probably take advantage of that Saturday to do that. But if your priority was the training side of it, getting stronger, building more muscle, then I would take advantage of that Saturday as my flex day to do training.
And you don't put the cardio on the same day as the upper body legs workouts?
It could be, but if your priority again is to build muscle, then prioritize muscle building. Put that first. Do your cardio conditioning work at the end of that workout. Something might suffer, and the thing that usually comes second is what suffers.
If we think just about Monday, which we had down as the push day, so that's me doing like chest and is it triceps and shoulders. If I'm training for 1 hour, how many reps are you trying to do per muscle, and how many sets?
So set count, if you can get in, and again, this is a little bit determined by whether you're going to train on that Saturday. So if you're going to come back and train total body on Saturday, then I I know I have an opportunity to maybe do a bench again on Saturday, or a variation of bench, an incline bench. So I don't have to get all of my chest volume in that first day. But typically you're looking for around anywhere between 9 and 16 sets or so for that muscle group across the week. So if you were going to do, let's say, the one workout for chest and you're doing, say, 3 sets per exercise, you're in that range of around 3 exercises, right,
Okay.
for chest. Now, you don't have to have that. The volume doesn't need to be as high for triceps because you're obviously training your triceps while you're doing bench press. So you could put one direct tricep exercise in. If it was me, I would put something. My favorite exercise for triceps is the lion tricep extension, where I lay on my back on the bench and I do the, some people call them skull crushers or nose breakers.
If we just take bicep as an example,
Mm.
how often do I need to train and how intense do I need to train the bicep for it to grow? And conversely, if I just left my bicep alone, how long would it take for me to lose the muscle?
Yeah, interesting. So, I think this is one of the most fascinating areas of training that has yet to be uncovered. I actually discussed this with Andrew Huberman at one point. It's very interesting. So from person to person, we know that there are different recovery rates between the people. From person to person, we know that there are different recovery rates between muscles. Like you might do the same bicep workout I do and need more time to recover than I would. What's interesting is from the individual themselves, certain muscle groups require more or less frequency to recover from. So I might find that I could train my biceps every 3 days, but I could never train my back every 3 days, or I could never train my chest every 3 days. It's just so intricate because every muscle is going to be different for every person. And even at a holistic one level, you're just not going to find the same recovery rate across the board for every muscle in your body. So a lot of times I think people should rely on a little bit of training intuition to say, hey, like, am I increasing my weights? Is my strength going up on the lift? Am I feeling excited to train that muscle when I go to train it? If I am, then I'm probably recovering well. And you can experiment with like hitting it again more frequently. I think in the big picture, the more frequently that you can stimulate a muscle, the better the results are going to be.
You have this contraption on the desk
Mm.
in front of us. This thing here.
Yeah.
So many people talk to me about this device, and it's quite strange how important people say that this device is and what it tells us. I was doing some reading beforehand. It's a grip strength
Yeah.
reader monitor, and there's some really crazy stats that I found. There was a 2015 Lancet study across 17 countries that found for every 5 kilogram decrease in grip strength, it was associated with a 16% higher risk of death, a 17% higher risk of heart disease, and a 7% higher risk of stroke. And a 2018 study in the Journal of Alzheimer's Disease found that people with low grip strength had a 68% high risk of developing Alzheimer's. There was another study that linked it to other cardiovascular and blood issues, and another study that shows that older adults in the lowest third of grip strength were 2.5 times more likely to fall and be hospitalized with their injuries. And one study found that grip strength predicted upper body strength by 70%. And lastly, adults over 65 with weak grip strength were 2.1 times more likely to become dependent in daily activities within 3 years. That was in the Journal of Gerontology.
Mm.
Grip strength.
Pretty important, huh?
Mm.
A lot of that research has been determined to be more correlative than causative, but the fact is that maintaining your grip strength is very important. So what I mean by the correlative causative thing is that what they find is that people that maintain their grip strength throughout life are probably doing so because they're regularly engaging in physical activity. Likely they are lifting weights, they're holding heavy weights, they're having to manipulate their body in space if they're doing calisthenic exercises. So there's a level of activity that remains in their grip that probably keeps their level of strength at a higher level. So you're selecting out people that are just generally maintaining their fitness, in which case they're probably maintaining higher levels of health and lower issues as they age.
So it's not the strength in which we can grip that matters necessarily, but the thing that matters is upstream from that, and downstream is our ability to grip. So it's just it's almost like a symptom of something upstream, which is positive.
Right, or lacking, right?
Or
You're
lacking,
not
yeah.
you're not doing enough of. That being said, you can actually directly relate or measure your ability to recover from exercise based upon having a baseline understanding of what your grip strength is, and then monitoring what that is over weeks or months of training. So if you were to measure your grip strength with a tool like this in the morning, 5 mornings in a row, and average it out at a time where you feel like you're feeling energetic and good, that will give you a good baseline of what your grip strength is.
What's a good grip strength?
So most men would be somewhere between 100, I'll talk in pounds, 100 to 120 pounds. So if you look at that, that's around 46 kilos to 54 kilos. If you want to give it a shot, see where you stack up. So to do this, now there's some rules here.
Yeah.
Don't go like this, keep it in here. Don't touch your
Tight,
arm to the table at
like
all.
this.
Keep it, 90 degrees,
This
like
way?
that. Yep. And then you're just going to squeeze, one good effort as hard as you can.
What should be like?
All right, don't blow out now. All right, let's see.
Oh, gosh, my head nearly exploded.
130.
Okay.
So you're above average. So doing well on grip strength. So now what you would do is, and you would test both sides. You could average out the sides. Sometimes you're going to have one side stronger than the other. You would then have a good baseline. If you were feeling like you weren't sure if you recovered or not, you would test this in the morning.
Can I try this side as well?
Go ahead. Yeah.
This is my weaker.
All right, here we go.
My weaker hand.
All right. You got to beat it though now.
Oh, gosh, it's a bit slippery.
I think you did.
Did I beat it?
Oh my God. Wow. 160.
You're joking.
160. Not
What
lying. It's right there.
the?
160. So you probably, if you did the other side again, give it another shot. If you did the other side again,
You think I'd beat it?
no, you're not going to beat. You're going to beat your old performance, but you're not going to beat. You're not going to beat the left side. Are you left-handed?
I'm right-handed, so that was strange.
Okay. All right, let's see what you got. 150 now. See, my prediction was right. So a lot of times it takes a little accommodation to the
What?
stress of doing that.
What's your grip strength?
I don't know. I haven't tested in a while. See, now you're gonna show me.
Left and right.
All right, let's see.
I'm gonna ask some of my team members if they want to give it a shot.
All right, here we go.
Wow.
A lot of crunching in there.
Wow.
130
Okay.
on that side.
And your left side?
All right, let's see.
Anyone else want to do it? Berta, you want to give it a shot?
Try to do it with all the popping, without all the popping. That was my bicep that popped, by the way. 110.
Okay, so you're
And
right.
I'm right-handed.
Okay.
So it was 130, right? 130 versus 110 on this side. So I fall in the range of average, but not superhuman for sure.
Berta, you
Want
want
to try?
But you're most certainly way stronger than me.
Not in grip strength.
But you're stronger than me at bicep curls,
Okay,
bench press,
but not,
everything else.
Yeah, I mean, this is again underscoring why some of these things need to be trained individually.
Right.
Okay.
All right, so now hold it like this.
Mhm.
Yep, and then you're just gonna one hand, right? Just squeeze as hard as you can for kind of a short burst.
Okay.
All right. There you go. Let's take a look. Wow, 100. Now, women's average grip strength is 60 to 80 pounds. So you're actually much stronger than the average woman.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.